This is a show about jewelry, why we wear it, why it matters, how it's made, and what it means. I'm Alex D, and I turn cannabis into gold. I make mind-blowing jewelry in gold, silver, and platinum from cannabis plants here in Canada for stage, screen, for people who want to rock crazy jewelry. I'm the cannabis goldsmith. I guess if you're a jewelry designer or a jeweler, if you have a small company, or if you're an independent, an individual jeweler, making your stuff and making your products the best you can make it, and you look at these big jewelry brands, the brands like Tiffany's and Cartier, and these brands, you look at them and you wonder whether you'll ever get that big, whether you'll ever have the amount of money they have to throw around on stuff like marketing and movie stars, and you wonder. But it's not all gravy. It's not all good. Having that much money and having the access to the stars is not always a good thing. And I don't know. I looked at this year's Academy Awards differently. I'm looking at it from a perspective. I tried to position myself. Say I owned a big brand, a big jewelry brand. How would I attack this? How would I communicate my pieces? How would I get the message about my pieces out to my customers and potential customers? What tools can I use to get? Photos is what we have basically of jewelry. If we're jewelers and we make photos, we can take pictures of our products. We can take videos of the products. We can put them on models. We can put them on movie stars. And we can photograph this, put it on web pages and in magazines. In days gone by, it was magazines. But you would get an image that could sell, that might be able to sell a design or a collection or even just the brand, because the movie star's wearing the brand gets that added bonus of, the movie star's shine rubs off on the brand, and the brand's shine rubs off on the movie star, and thus you get this kind of, it's a combined marketing effort basically to push both things. But only one side is paying for it. And that's the jewelry side. They're paying for it. So when you see these images, like at the Academy Awards, I watched the Academy Awards and I was like, oh God, do I have to watch this? Like, I watched the red carpet arrivals for a bit, and then I went back and looked at the photography of it after. And I started trying to think like a big brand. How could I, if I was Tiffany, and I'm not, this is a critique of their public-facing marketing materials. And I'm going to talk a bit about Boucheron today, too. Boucheron is another brand, a luxury jewelry brand owned by Kering, the same people who own Balenciaga. So they were at the Academy Awards as well, but they were trying to show their stuff off differently. But in the end, it all comes down to how the photos look, and that's what I'm gonna come to. So here we go. So we're working through the photos of the Academy Awards, and it occurs to me there's even less men jewelry now. And there was really some spectacular jewelry at the Academy Awards, but it was all overblown by the fashion. The dresses took all the eyeballs and took all the the lineage, they used to call it in newspapers, all the words on the internet that if the PR agency is doing a search for Academy Awards, Tiffany, whatever, they might find some of that, but they're going to find a hell of a lot more about the clothing and the outfits worn and not the jewelry. I would expect it's like 100 or 1,000 or even more to one. With respect to the quantity of stories, articles, posts, etc., about the clothing compared to the jewelry. So the big jewelry brand has this. Now they got to put the jewelry on the star, but they don't want it to get overpowered by the outfit, or they don't want the outfit overpowering the jewelry. And this year, all the outfits overpowered the jewelry, all of it. The only place they could have gone is with the men. Now I'm talking about the big brands that were sponsoring this or paying to have their products shown on the red carpet here. The men were under accessorized, shall we say. The men had lots of lapel space, lots of jacket space, lots of wrist space, lots of finger space to put jewelry, but no. They were loading up the stars with 3 and 4 necklaces, on top of each, stacked necklaces, stacked bracelets. The men had nothing. Now, this is a mistake, in my opinion, for Tiffany. They could have ignored the women and just gone all out on the men and done the men. Or Boucheron. Any of them could have done it. They could have focused on the men exclusively and punched through. See, what the jewelry brands are trying to do is they're trying to do a bunch of things, I think. They're trying to spread the word about their product. That's the main thing they're trying to do. They're trying to buff up their brand. Tiffany has been through a merger and acquisition, and recently they were in turmoil. They almost didn't get bought, and it was a huge kind of in the financial markets and stuff. So around the time of the pandemic, I would have to go back and look at the exact date and stuff. I'm not going to do that, but they were in turmoil, and they were finally acquired, and they're sort of now they're trying to cut their way into the future, like all of us are, trying to get our products out in front of the public eye. But the thing is, they have piles of money to do it. So when I look at what they did at the Academy Awards, I just see huge problems, like huge. And I'll describe them. And also I'll describe the smaller brand, Boucheron. I'm going to compare them today. These are 2 luxury brands. The Boucheron, I think, is the more luxury brand. But, I mean, it depends who you are and how you look at it. Anyway, Boucheron didn't have a lot of pieces in the Academy Awards thing. But the pieces they did have, you could tell it was strategized. And it coordinated with the products that they had for sale on their website a bit, but not entirely. So I think what they try to do, this is speculation. I just can't understand what they're trying to do, actually. From a marketing perspective, I think you would, first off, you decide what you want to communicate to your potential customer. You create the imagery around that to make sure that's to the best of your ability. This is what you're going to do. You're going to communicate this message, and you're going to do it with this particular image, these particular jewelry pieces draped on this particular star. The photography has to be consistent on every platform, and that means it has to look good on the website, it has to look good on the social media feed, and it has to look good on the star. And all these images have to match. So if you go to the website, the photograph of the person has to look, wearing the jewelry, it has to look like that photograph you saw on TV or on the phone when you were flipping through TikTok or Instagram or whatever you were doing, and you see a picture of the star wearing the jewelry piece. Now, if it's a different color, or if it looks different or looks shittier than on their website, I'm not going to say alarm bells go off, but it just looks weird, and you just pass it by. And but not me. I dig deeper to find out why. Why is this going on? Well, the first thing I noticed was during the Academy Awards, none of these brands had coordinated websites. So Tiffany or Boucheron, they didn't update their web pages to reflect what was going on the Academy Awards. So they were updating their content on their social media feeds with pictures of the stars that were wearing the products. But in a lot of cases, the photographs were terrible and the color was off. So it just didn't look right, in my opinion, when I'm looking at this. Now, granted, everyone has different monitors and people are looking at the color is different on every monitor and on every phone a little bit. It's all a little bit different. But when you prepare photographs for a jewelry brand or a fashion house to be shown online, you want these photos to be pretty close. They have to look pretty close to each other across all these platforms. That's what I'm trying to say. And in the case of these brands, they didn't even have their websites updated. Now, here you have these huge brands. They're paying stars God knows what to wear jewelry pieces that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And yet they didn't even update their web pages to their homepage to show this. Like they've put an Instagram story up about this that'll be gone in a day, or maybe they put an Instagram post up with a picture of Emily Blunt or whatever wearing the jewelry piece. Maybe that's enough for them, but if it was me, it wouldn't be enough for me. It certainly wouldn't be enough for me. If I was the CMO at Tiffany's, I would be, no. Emily Blunt has to come in. Emily Blunt, we have to get Emily Blunt to do more stuff. She has to talk about the jewelry she wore as a young girl growing up and how this is different. And that's the kind of stuff that people want to hear about. They don't want to see shitty photographs spooged over the different channels that don't even look the same, right? It's the same photograph that looks different. I looked at one photograph. I'm not even sure now if it was Boucheron or Tiffany during the night of the Academy Awards. I think they were trying to put something up, but I saw a photo that was just horrific. The jewelry looked great, but the star looked terrible. Whoever was correcting the color, Kate Middleton or whoever was doing the Photoshop, they had made the jewelry look perfect. But by doing that, all the color on the star, the face looked like these beauty filters gone wrong. It looked like somebody took a paint roller to the star, but the jewelry looked great. So these brands, I don't know where they're getting, like I said, Kate Middleton. This is Kate Middleton's Photoshop was even better than this. So, if they're spending all this money, why is it so slapdash, haphazard? So I was trying to figure it out, and I went into, there's a bunch of these sites on the internet where you can go in and I think look at the org charts of corporations. And an org chart is the power structure of a corporation. It's like who's the CEO, who's the CMO, who's the CFO, and then who's under these people. So I was looking at the org chart for Tiffany's, and the CMO, the chief marketing officer, is the person who holds the bag for this endeavor with the Academy Awards or whatever their marketing is, because they're the top banana. They're the person making the decisions. They are where the buck should stop for marketing and public relations stuff that relates to the brand. So I looked at the org chart and I found that there is a CMO, and under her, there's all these other vice presidents. There's a vice president of events and a vice president of public relations and a vice president of communications and a vice president. She's got 7 vice presidents of different aspects of jewelry marketing under her direction to make the brand look fabulous. Okay, so now why was the event guy at Tiffany's excluded from providing photography to the homepage on the night of the event, injecting photographs into the homepage of the stars that they were paying handsomely to wear their products? There's no sign of it. Okay, but Tiffany has a public relations person, right? I'm on their homepage. I'm on the Tiffany and Company newsroom. The page hasn't been updated since November 27th, 2023. I mean, it's a story about they've launched a creative partnership with some artist to make a titanium bracelet and a bust inspired by the artist of Venus. Now, there's nothing there here about the Academy Awards. This is their press, the latest press releases. They don't even have anything. So they've spent all this money on the stars. They've paid that. They've draped them in all the diamonds. They've trotted them out onto the red carpet, and they're not even using this to market with. So I think the CMO, who's the CMO now? Let's just see. Let me get the name right. Andrea C. Davy is the CMO of Tiffany's. And what is she doing? She should probably rein in the vice presidents for the next Oscars to get them to start doing stuff to support the brand. Like, Jesus. What I would do, okay, here's my free advice. What I would do is I would get all the vice presidents in a room, and I would say, we're doing the Academy Awards. So-and-so, Emily Blunt or whoever is wearing the necklace. This is what we're going to do with these images. We're going to, as soon as the image is shot, it's going on the social media feeds. It's going out to the press. It's going out to the press via our press page, which is being updated during the night of the Oscars. So media around the world can pull images off and use it to talk about the products. Okay? Now they have a bunch of vice presidents sitting around. Like, what are they doing? This is what they should be doing. Also, Tiffany has stores. They have retail outlets. All this shit has to be repackaged and big screen fucking monitors. They should get these Samsung wall, what do they call them? The frame. They should work out some arrangement with Samsung and then get the frames put into the stores and show these images in the stores, right? That's what they should do. And if they're not together enough to figure that out, maybe they could blow up a big poster of the movie star wearing the piece and put it in the store. They'll eventually do it, but I mean, if their press page hasn't been updated in over 6 months, like, I'm not going to hold my breath. But here, the jewelry market is going through lots of turmoil, and these are huge companies with lots of money, but they have lots of people too, and lots of chiefs making decisions about stuff, which is always the case with these corporations. You get this layer of bloat in the middle that prevents creativity from reaching the customers. Like, geez, they need to streamline that whole thing, or just give up sponsoring it entirely. What did they get out of it? 1 day of social media posts for the kind of money they spent? I don't think that's smart money. But then again, I'm not Mr. Tiffany. I mean, if I was Mr. Tiffany, it would be completely different. It would be different. It would be much more integrated. The marketing would move so much faster. But here's the other thing I want to talk about: the photography. Now, I talked in another show previously about photographing jewelry, how difficult it is. It is one of the most difficult things. It's like photographing mirrors. Like, it's a hard thing to make a mirror look great because it's reflecting everything back at you. This is why it's so hard to photograph jewelry. It's reflective. Gemstones are even harder because they pick up the color of the objects around them. So that time, remember when they changed the red carpet to champagne and all the clothing looked crappy because the designers had designed it all to look great on a red carpet, and changing the color scheme of the room made everything look like shit. So nobody is thinking about any of this color perception, the way the products look in digital photography or in digital video. the color. They correct the color after to make the jewelry look great, and it makes the stars look like shit. Now you've paid the star God knows what to wear the piece, so you're making the star look like shit in order to wear your piece in a photo. No, they're doing it all wrong. I mean, this is what I meant by Kate Middleton Photoshop at Tiffany's and Boucheron and Cartier and all these brands. It's amateur. It looks amateur. Now I'm not talking about the jewelry pieces themselves. They're fabulous, but it's just they don't know how to capture them or show them. Or there are too many people working on the photograph to try and correct it and ruining it, making it worse and worse each time. That can happen too. But really, you need somebody in charge of all this. Now, I know Andrea C. Davey, the chief marketing officer at Tiffany, is way too busy to consider all this stuff. But she has like 5 or 7 or 10 vice presidents. Maybe she could pick one out to be imagery, the vice president of imagery, and whose whole job is to make sure the brand, the photography and the video matches across the platforms and looks amazing and is made available to the press and to whoever wants it. Okay? That's not going to cost a lot of money to do that. But you see, they don't think about these big corporations are quite used to spending lots of money to get stuff that is not particularly good value for the money. It's like the military, the $200,000 hammer that you can get at Home Depot for $20, right? That's like something like that, I think, perhaps. Who knows? I'm not there. So there are some advantages to being a smaller designer, or smaller jeweler, where you can get full control over the way you design the piece, the way you want it to look. I go the extra mile to make our pieces look great in photography, as good, as close to what they look like in real life as possible. I spend way too much time at it. But I don't have a lot of products to document, right? I don't have like thousands to document. But they do. They have a lot. And I guess maybe that's a problem for them too. But still, it should be consistent right across. And especially if you look at these big brands, you look at when you page through their, as I mentioned in a previous show, when you page through their site and you look at products, the photography in the products is poor. It's poor. It's not good. The quality the color's off, the focus is soft, that are smaller, that look much higher quality. That's all I'm saying. And if you're selling the big trinkets, you might as well you might as well make them look right. Anyway, Boucheron, I think it was Boucheron who had this. They tried to inject some fresh pictures into the homepage, but they were off. And they're gone now. Now there's like let me just look at the page. They might have changed it again, but let me just see. Boo. All right. Now they've got, that's basically this videos of models against backgrounds wearing jewelry pieces. They're young. They look like university age people. I don't know. Well, anyway, I mean, the site, it looked like they were trying to load something in when I was watching it last night, but I might have been mistaken. It might have been Tiffany. Anyway, it's hard to tell the difference between these sites because they look the same. Let me just check Tiffany again. Let's see if they've done anything else before I wrap up this episode. Here we go. See, there's nothing on this. I'm on the U.S. site, but globally, they should have right now. Well, the Oscars thing was fresh. They should have had imagery on the homepage. Good, clean, sharp imagery shot at the event. Maybe not at the red carpet. Maybe just off the red carpet. Maybe they could have got their ambassadors and photographed them on in an area of the Academy Awards, specifically to load into social media and online, but they didn't do that. So when you have photographers, this is the other thing they might not realize, or they do now, I guess, is that if you're buying photos, if you've got a photographer out on the red carpet shooting, a lot of it's going to depend on them, like whether they're shooting to capture the star, or whether they're shooting to capture the jewelry, whether their color is accurate against the background of the red carpet, or the red carpet itself, or what the star is wearing. All this stuff has to be taken into consideration. So the workflow from the person who takes the photograph to the person who color corrects it and then uploads it to the site and the web page and the social media congruent, right? It has to be all the same. And if there's one dude who's correcting, doesn't like the way the photo looks and is correcting it on his phone, it will fuck everything up. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's why there's no photos of this here. But anyway, it's all old news now. That's gone. The internet, communications moves so fast. Marketing moves so fast. It's gone. So that hit they got for the Academy Awards, now I'm seeing, as I said, less and less jewelry in these award shows. So I think they're pulling away from it. I mean, they have to evaluate how are they going to communicate with customers for these huge pieces. Is it doing anything for their brand? Their brands being sponsoring these events? Like, do they at least get a good photo out of it to hang on the wall or display in the Samsung frames in the store or whatever? Like, you wonder. Anyway, the CMO at Tiffany's, I bet they're going to have some good meetings after the Academy Awards to try and figure out whether it was worth doing or not. But who knows? Maybe they'll get it figured out for next year. Boucheron, smaller company, more focused. They did a better job of it. Sure, they had Charlize Theron wearing the stuff, and she was overdone with it. I mean, it was just like, it was way too much on her. I mean, one piece would have done it. But whatever. It's over and it's done. So till next year, I guess. The Met Gala is coming out. That's going to be another stupid thing. But I don't know. I'm just. I think they're gonna have issues trying to communicate with a new generation of jewelry wearing people. Hollywood's gone, and it's in such trouble, and the stars are not as powerful as they were, and these new stars are they have to have a place to be shown, you know, and I don't even know how that's going. So the big jewelry brands and small jewelry brands, specialized brands like ours, who have to figure out ways to market and communicate with customers, are going to have to do a lot of thinking. And I think the smaller jewelry brands, the smaller specialist brands like us, are going to have an easier time of it because we can be nimble, and the nimbleness is what you need, especially to take advantage of your own marketing dollars. If you're like fire hosing money at something, but you're not utilizing the results of it to enhance your marketing, why are you even doing it? So anyway, this has been a show about marketing and my kind of impressions about how the big jewelry brands are marketing. I haven't even gone into who I think they're marketing to. I'm not sure they even know. I think they're still doing this because they've always done it. The sponsoring the Academy Awards thing. They really don't know. Like, you can see they're having a hard time trying to figure it out, and they need somebody there to just I don't know, figure it out. They need to be more nimble. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, this has not been a malicious critique of Boucheron and Tiffany, who I love. I love all jewelers, and even the big brands. I mean, but they're corporations, and they've got shit to deal with that smaller jewelers don't. So anyway, that's it for me this week. I've cleaned the studio. The studio looks great, and as soon as I did, as soon as I cleaned my main table off, the jewelry ideas started to come. So I think there's some truth to the blank canvas. So if you have a blank canvas, you want to start filling it up with stuff and putting stuff on it. And I think that's I think that's what's happening. So I have some great ideas for products now, and I'm starting to work on them. I'm not going to talk too much about them now, but as we go, we're going to talk about them more. I'm aiming for 420. There's going to be a new product for 420, and for you non-cannabis people, that's April 20th, and it's a special day for the cannabis community. And 710. There's going to be another product for 710. So, but in between that, there's some other products that I'm working on that are quite interesting. Some rings, a pendant, key fobs. What else? Oh, lots of stuff going on in my nice, new, clean workshop. Last thing before I go, a Chicago DJ, Derek Carter, posted something to his social media feed. It was a woman talking about art, and I want to see if I can find it. I'll repost it here. Oh, here it is. She's a comic book writer. Her name is Susan Durende. I've never heard of her before, but listen to what she has to say here. It's really good.
Art is not the artifact. Art happens in the making of something. Making is the creative act, not the artifact.
Could probably do a whole show on that statement alone. It makes a lot of sense. Remember that all the struggle you're going through making your art, making your jewelry piece, doing your painting, making your pot, all the barriers you have to blow through to get to the point where you're starting to be happy with your work, you hate it, you throw it in the garbage, you start over. All that stuff is the art. That's the art. The actual painting that comes out at the end, that's the souvenir of the experience, which is the actual art. This makes so much sense now. Anyway, that's it for me this week. If you're a big brand looking for some ideas to market your jewelry, we can help you, I think. But you know what? You can figure it out yourself. You got the money. Tune in next week as no, I'm not going to be attacking brands in every show. No, tune in next week and it'll be spring and we'll be back at it hard. The Cannabis Goldsmith is produced by Tribe Communications, Inc. in the Thousand Islands area of Ontario, Canada. You can see what we do at tribe.ca. Send us an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Cannabis Goldsmith.